Greetings and welcome to another edition of the Pedalshift Project. The Pedalshift Project is a series of conversations, thoughts, and experiments around the bike touring lifestyle. From tips and tricks to ideas on how to ride your ride. Let's shrink the world by bike. Show notes and more are available at pedalshift.net/119, and you can email the show, pedalshift@pedalshift.net. Call the voicemail hotline, 202-930-1109. You can check Pedalshift out on all the socials as well. Greetings, everybody, and welcome to Chapter 2 of my ride across Missouri on the Katy Trail. This is Day 2, encompassing one of the more challenging days I had on the entire trail. And it is told in order. However, the way that the story is relayed is from different points in time. So hopefully it's not too terribly confusing. I'm going to pop in a couple of times just to give it a little bit of context in between some interstitials there. But some of the storytelling is told in the moment. Some of it is looking back from a couple of different spots along the way. So I hope that this is understandable, and you'll probably hear a whole bunch of different things in the background as well, whether it's birds that sounded like droids, for real. There was some great stuff, and then there was, well, it was Day 2. From Pilot Grove, Missouri, the town that is hosting me for the evening here in their wonderful city park. I went to City Hall, went straight to the top to do my registration. That was breezy and easy. This was a challenging day. So leaving town this morning, I got breakfast. I left the camp. It was fine. It was great. It was nice and cool. It was mostly cloudy through the day. Mostly cloudy. We'll come back to that in a moment. One of the fun parts about biking someplace new, the different sounds you hear. I swear I feel like I'm in a Star Wars movie with the way these birds are sounding. I'm just hoping that this comes through, even a little bit. These aren't the droids you're looking for. Eventually got to the point where I was in Sedalia, which is a town of note. It's bigger. It's more of a city, and the lunch was fine. I charged up my phone again, a little bit of foreshadowing, and enjoyed lunch fully and then left, and noticed as I was trying to leave town that my rear derailleur was not shifting at all. And when I say not shifting, it wasn't moving at all. And it was getting progressively worse. It was moving a little bit, but I got to the point where it was just brutal. And I actually had to cross chain because it was in the highest gear and wouldn't leave. And it was at that point when I was like, maybe I am going to go to a bike shop. Because I thought before, I'll just deal with it and then I'll see if I can fix it in camp. I thought it was maybe there was some pressure on the rear derailleur cable from my pannier. No, it wasn't. So I went to the bike shop, and the guy showed me the housing to my rear derailleur cable, and it was like bent and busted and broken in two. It was just bananas. I put a picture up on Insta. It was just crazy. So I got it fixed there, and he took my top tube bag off the bike to get at it, and everything was fine. I loaded back up and I left. So I leave the bike shop, and things start to go south even more from there. All right, I'm annoyed. The Katy Trail just sort of ends in Sedalia, and they're like, here's a really well-signed route. And then it just sort of ends. And then all of my maps tell me to go on this railroad, like literal railroad, not a railroad trail, but a literal railroad. It's right here. I can't do that. So guess we'll figure this shit out. It says to go 15 miles down railroad tracks. Thanks, Google Maps. You suck. There was
referenced in a faded printout back at a trailhead one town back. And I was sort of like, okay, I'll pay attention to things, blah, blah, blah. Surely there'll be signs. And there are. It's just, there's also old ones for the old route. Google Maps hasn't caught up to it. My map that I had downloaded from Ride with GPS, it was wrong. Now it's really well signed. I'm going by an old cemetery, and it's painted in the pavement. There are signs up, but man, you take your eyes off it for 2 seconds, and you're looking at maybe a map that you have, and you're going to end up at a railroad bed, wondering what the hell is going on, because as you look on the map, it is definitely where it's sending you. And it is not correct. Not correct at all. My frustration level grew really, really high. Like, so much so that I was ready to chuck the whole tour. That's how frustrating it got. And I don't ditch out on a tour on day 2 for nothing. When your route just suddenly disappears on you, and you have multiple backup ways of figuring out where you need to go. And they all point you. Literally, I circled around. I can't wait to see my Ride with GPS on this one, because it's going to show me circling around and doubling back to the same spot each time, as I used different methods to find the trail. Fascinating. Also, as I was trying to double back and retrace, I'd find old to the Katy Trail paintings, what do you call them? Just signs in the road. And would be like, oh, I found it, great. And it would send me back to the same spot. It was Groundhog Day, but for bicycle touring. It was crazy. Then a postal carrier saw me at the same thing with a frustrated look on my face, no doubt. And he's like, you got to go back all the way to Engineer and make a right, and there are signs, and just keep following them. And it was just the nicest thing, because it was really frustrating. Now, let's see. It looks like I'm going to be turning on another road here to continue, but it's definitely a posted sign. In fairness, they signed it, and it's not like you go a mile until you see the next sign. They're pretty there, but there's still so much bad information out there. Added bonus is there's a big cell of thunderstorms right to the south that may or may not hit. Dark sky says possible light rain, so we'll see. I may have to go digging for my rain jacket in a little bit if I'm not careful, but I just desperately want to find the trail first, and then life will be better. What a fascinating turn of events here. Literally losing the trail and having bad information. It was really pretty funny. I'm looking forward to seeing the videos of frustrated Timmy trying to figure out things. Sedalia, Missouri, you have been a treat. You have been a delight. Thank you for your proper signage. I don't think it's your fault. I do wish other maps would do a better job of updating when things like this change. I'm curious when this happened.
Turns out when it happened was 2016 or so, and, not ideal at all. And I think that it's something that other people have run into, and certainly the postal carrier was used to seeing people like me walking around like a zombie, not knowing what they're doing. So there was that. Just when you think that the day has already had its dash of bad, things go from bad to worse. About 10 miles later, I'm noticing my phone is down in the 20s, and that's typically when I want to pull out my cable and my battery, and I'll kind of charge it as I ride, and then I look down and saw top 2 bag is missing, and I realized immediately the dude didn't put it back on. I didn't notice it as I was putting stuff on it again, and I left, and it would be a 20-mile round trip to go back, get it, and get back to that same spot. And it was already feeling like a long day at that point. So I decided to keep going. But I realized, because I was running through, okay, bummer, it's got a tube. Okay, bummer, it's got some tools in it. And then I realized, oh, it's got my charge cable. That was the whole point. So I did not have another charging cable, so I realized, okay, things are going to have to change with how I'm using the phone. So shut down the GPS program, texted Kimberly, let her know, hey, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get a charge cable even in the next town, because I knew it was smaller. I figured my next solid bet was going to be Jefferson City, because it's a bigger town, of course, state capital. And I kept riding. And that's just sort of the point where you're just like, that's a bummer. And then the skies just open up. There had been a threat of rain all day, but it looked like that it was going to stay to the south of where the trail was, because the trail was continuing to go northeast. And the storms looked like they were all to the south. No. No, they eventually hit, and they hit with a lot of thunder and lightning and stuff like that. So, I pull out my rain jacket, and then there's a certain point where it's just like the rain jacket doesn't make any sense because the rest of me is wet. So I take that off eventually, and it was nice because it was cool, much better than yesterday in that sense. But it was pretty nasty. And then, of course, the trail, very much similarly to the Gap, really suffers in the rain. It does drain well over a couple of days, but in the rain, man, it is a soggy mess and really slows you down. So throw all of these things together. Today was supposed to be my short day. Today was supposed to be my chill day. And it was anything but. Got rolled into Pilot Grove eventually, and went to the Casey's General Store, which is sort of I think I'd mentioned this before. It's their 7-Eleven. Got there. They did have a charging cable, which was good. So that's a bonus. I can re-enter the world of documenting this trip rather than going, I don't think I have enough juice. And, the town is really nice. The camping situation is free, which is nice. And belly full of pizza right now and probably indigestion, which is pretty much a capper for the day. Tomorrow will be better, I think. I hope. I have a lot of wet stuff. There's a laundromat in town. I may or may not go there in the morning to dry things out if they don't sufficiently dry overnight, which I just can't imagine that they are. We'll just have to see how it goes. But I'm definitely going to bed early tonight. Today was just one of those days that you want. If every day were like this for touring, I would not be touring. It's one of those things that you look back on and say, oh, well, that was challenging. But in the moment, it's just like, you just don't want to do it. Thankfully, there are so many great days ahead, and I'm excited to get back on the bike again, and I'm excited to be dry, and I'm thankful that all my gear stayed dry inside all the waterproof bags, and I'll have a good night's sleep, and all will be well in the morning. And I'll make a great cup of coffee, because I brought my coffee making gear, and that's important too. So, challenging day 2 on the Katy Trail. Coming up in Chapter 3 of Tour Journals Volume 10, Katy Trail. Last night rained and rained and rained and rained. There's also a park light that is roughly the number of candelas as the effing sun.
My directions say to go right. However, it's pretty clear I should be going straight.
We've been brought together through this dopey little podcast. It's just kind of fun. And we like to end off the show, as always, with a big thank you to the supporters of the show who are members of the Pedalshift Society. If you like what you hear, you can help maintain Pedalshift as an independent, listener-supported voice while expanding the offerings. We're talking $1, $2, $5 a month. Helps with the cost of hosting the podcast and the website. You can do it for a bit and cancel anytime. One-shot support is welcome as well. If you're not into the small monthly thing, check it all out at pedalshift.net/society. On to the society. Ethan Georgie, Kimberly Wilson, Caleb Jenkinson, Cameron Lane, Andrew McGregor, Michael Hart, Josiah Matthews, Keith Nagel, Brock Dittus, Thomas Skadow, Seth Krieger, Marco Lowe, Terrence Manson, Noah Schroer, Harry Telgadas, John Sikorsky, Richard Killian, Chris Barron, Brian Wren, Mark Van Ram, Brad Hipwell, Paul Mulvey, Stuart Buchan, Todd Stutz, Mr. T, Roxy Arning, Nathan Poulton, Harry Hugel, Stephen Dickerson, Vince LaGreco, Ruth Divorcey, Michelle Miller, Matthew Lewis, Michael Baker, Billy Crafton, Paul Culbertson, Scott Culbertson, Matt Perry, Danielle Jepson, Cody Flortinger, Tom Beninati, Bobby Ruppel, Roy Everett, Greg Braithwaite, John Mayer, William Cairns, Sandy Pizzio, Derek Wagner, Richard Patch, Mark Messer. And thanks also to all anonymous and past contributors for helping make this show happen. Thank you for joining. You can find Pedalshift at pedalshift.net for more great bicycle touring content. You can hear the Pedalshift project through Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast app. Opening music courtesy of Jason Kent off his self-titled album. The track is called America. Check out his band Sunfield's latest release, Mono Mono, wherever cool music is available.